So you've gotten an offer on your listing, all of the contracts have been signed by all parties and been delivered. Now what? Now it's earnest money time. Let's dig into how earnest money works when you have a listing. So how does the earnest money get to the listing broker's trust account? Well, if you've done a buyer representation and a transaction before, you probably know this, but maybe you haven't, so I'll show you. So let's say I am the listing agent on this property, which I am. So when we get an offer on this property, an accepted offer, if the buyer decides that they want to submit earnest money electronically, which is probably the most highly preferred method of submitting earnest money, they will just come here to this little, it looks like a little eagle. You'd think it was the dollar sign, but it's this little eagle sign. So as the buyer's agent, I'm going to tell trust funds where the earnest money will be held. So will it be held at the buyer's broker, the listing broker, or the title company, per the purchase agreement at the listing broker. So basically what needs to happen is the buyer's agent will fill in the buyer's name, the buyer's email, the amount of earnest money, and will create a secret word, decide who's going to pay the $5 convenience fee. Either the buyer's agent or the buyer can pay it. And then basically you just check here and the buyer will be notified. And what will happen then is they will need to enter their bank account routing number and their account number, and the earnest money gets submitted to the proper broker. Once that earnest money is submitted by the buyer, all parties will get a notification that looks like this. You can see here that it says that earnest money has been submitted. And then 3 to 5 business days later, you'll get a notification that earnest money has settled. Probably want to keep copies of those emails just as a reference for the title company, for your brokerage. That earnest money has been submitted as well as settled. You'll remember from pre-licensing class that earnest money is required to be deposited within a very specific time frame. So if we look here on line 5 is the section that starts off talking about earnest money. So it says buyer's earnest money in the amount of, so how many dollars, shall be delivered to listing broker, which is the default, or if checked, put in the buyer's broker or a title company no later than 2 business days after final acceptance. So again, 2 business days. So that would be Monday through Friday, excluding weekends and holidays. Buyer and seller agree that earnest money shall be deposited in the trust account of earnest money holder as specified above within 3 business days of receipt of the earnest money or final acceptance date, whichever is later. So that has to do with the processing at your brokerage. So the one thing that we want to just keep in mind is that earnest money is due from the buyer for our seller within 2 business days after final acceptance. And of course, final acceptance is the day that all signatures have been done and the documents have been delivered to the clients. There are a few small brokerages that have not signed on to use trust funds, or there may be a buyer that isn't comfortable using electronic transfer of funds for their earnest money. In that situation, what you want to do is make a copy of the physical check, take that physical check along with the form from the MNAR folder that is titled Earnest Money Receipt, and you're going to get in your car and you're going to drive that earnest money check over to most likely the listing broker's office. If the listing broker doesn't have a space, which happens occasionally, then you'll have to put it in the mail. But good luck meeting the 2-day deadline in delivering earnest money to the broker. But if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. You'll make a note in your file that says, I made a copy of this, I put it in the mail on this date, and that's all you can do. So there's also an option, of course, if the buyer doesn't want to use trust funds or if the brokerage doesn't accept trust funds. So that wraps up this lesson on earnest money on your listing. So we'll see you in the next video.